The 3-month cash transfer project implemented from 1 June to August 31, 2016 in 3 wards of Insitha district of Matabeleland South Province of Zimbabwe targeted 4,800 vulnerable children, women, men, the elderly, and the chronically ill. In total, about 1,045 households were covered under the project, which was designed to build resilience and provide food aid. The project came against a background of an erratic rainfall pattern in the 2015-2016 season, which was unfavorable for cropping and livestock production, resulting in a total crop failure in the greater part of the country. In Insitha district, less than 12% of the 20,000 hectares of arable land was planted by end of December, and most of the early planted crop was a write-off due to the prolonged dry spell. Farmers had to replant in January 2016, but with little success. The situation forced the people to start depending on commercial supplies while they did not have disposable income.
Our district unfortunately falls within natural region number 4 and 5, where predominantly we are affected by drought. And therefore the current past year, the phenomena actually was we had a difficult situation where rains were very erratic, and therefore farmers could not actually crop significant hectares to produce for their households and also for sale, and therefore the district is currently in current challenges in terms of food provisions. So most households are actually in problems of food shortages.
The project enabled the food insecure and most vulnerable who are labor constrained and do not have other coping mechanisms to access food and avert starvation through the cash transfers. 94-year-old Gogo Malita Mtambo of Village 3, Ward 18 was one of the beneficiaries.
Amafuta isepe ukuvasa umzimba isepe ukuvasa impahla enye nayibeka.
The beneficiaries all acknowledged that the cash came at the right time and they used it for various purposes, but are however worried that the project came to an end when they still had no other means of survival, and appealed to the donors, if possible, to continue with the assistance until the next cropping season.
Program le yasinceda kakhulu mina njengoba nginje ngumsizondeka ngumfelokazi ngatsho indoda ngilabantwana abayi16 enhlala labo lapha ebalini sekufika ihlelo lolile ikhokeshi lele elizimprolile labangani bayo sathola ama $30 ngathola imali yange $30 okwenyanga ezimbili. Leyo mali ingiphathisile kakhulu njengomuntu ohlala labantwana abanye bafela ngonina. Ngingumfelokazi ngithengile ukudla ngenye ngabhadalela abanye abantwana bese beshoda ukubhadalela esikolweni.
So mina incede kakhulu ngoba bekunzima kuma ukuthi ni contribute kuma clubs esiwenza njengabo mama. So iye yangincedisa kanye nasebantwaneni abesikolo. Ndienda ncedakala kakhulu ngoba bebengasasweli amabhuku konke namapenseli. Ne school fees benikwanisa ukuthi ndenelisa ukuthi ngibabhadalele school fees. Wayesincedile kakhulu izimpro. Siyabonga kakhulu kuzimpro ngoba ngesisikhathi vele besingakwazi sibe sizawuhlanganisana lana ukuze sibe sikwesi stage.
Siyathenga ukudliwayo. Sithenge njalo nento ukuthi sithole ukuthi singageza noma ubona kodwa nje umzimba nje nempahla zethu. lapha iwest yedlula iminyaka eminingi. So la khathesi njengobana kukhanya ukuthi le inyanga ngiyokugcina nje vele sesijongene nendlala embi ukuthi asingeke sikwanise futhi ukuthi siphutshe. Njalo besicela ukuthi thina nxa umhlanga uNkulunkulu engangenela
thenga ukudla uthi ke le mali abantwana esikolweni njalo lezigayo khonapha iyanceda ke lapho lezi chebo khonapha
kuba siyathenga ukudla kwabantwana sithenge nesepha siyakwanisa nokuthi esikolweni umntana nxa enansi kasibhadale njengoba izikolo zivuliwe funa siphose ke noba ngaloma $10 abazukulu sabaxelela uba mabasike basinike side nathi sibe silime uba lokulima yona into enkalakade basinikeza sizothenga nembewu sikwanisa ukuthi nathi silime
ngisepha amabhuku abantwana ukudla
ikhokheshi sincedile sibi nangwami ngedwa incedile sibi ngoba yafika vele singela kudla adobha ngamagokoko saphinda futhi yabuya sabhadalela abantwana besikole ngathi njengoba izikolo zivuliwe sathenga lokunye okuncane ayisincedile sibi baba nxa siphela nje sesizalamba sibe ngoba indlala ikhona lapha kithi kula kudla simumba ukho asina lapha singabamba khona ukuthi singathengisana
imali lesitholileyo eyokuqala sibili hayi yabuya kuhle sayithola yakhanya kwakulo mkhuhlane ngangigula ngihamba ngesibhedlela so kwesibili hayi la yabuya ngathenga ukuzinkukhu kwami okubili enyayi ngathenga ukudla yama khonapha
mina ngimesincu ngidla goguneno imali lasibhayela sathenga ukudla njengempuphu le cooking oil siyabonga elasipha kona i-Church of Seeding mbuye esikolweni suthi noma abanye belambile mina besuthi
imali ngizasebenzisa ukubhadala umntwana esikolo ngizathenga ihlanyelo. Ngiyabonga kakhulu ukuthi ilinga edona lakhona lingeme liqhubekele phambili ngoba siyalamba.
Ifike lemafonini ethu sisebenzisa i-EcoCash sayithola ke kanjalo isisize kakhulu ngoba ifike ngesikhathi lapho kungena kudla khona isikhathi kuomile namanje kusawomile indlala isesekhona vele sisakhangelela ukuba nasise noma ngomude sinayo ende kakuna indlela esiziphathisa ngakhona ukuba nasithola ukudla. Ngizwa nginokumangala kakhulu my program isiphelile yona iqala sithi kumbe mhlawumbe bazasikhapha nathi basichiye sokungconywana mebhizulu belingana sithola ukudla sicela ukuba ngabe akade besisiza beqhubeke besisiza kusisenelisa ukuba nasithole okungasiza kumbe drought isidlule.
So kubiyeni kwedona le hayi siphathisile kakhulu ngani so besifisa ukuthi ngawe kuyavuma iphathise njalo njengoba indlala isesekhona ekapheli yilanga liyachisa nakulanga lokuthi chisa lisiya phambili ukuthi kusiya tufika isikhathi sokuthi kuyalinywa kwesinye isikhathi siloko siphathisekile.
The local leadership have spoken on the importance of the program during this difficult time.
Indlala ikhona sibili lapha esigabeni ibebencedwa izimpro le Church of Lukuzini 8 nalikathi ibanika imali abadala so kathi singaba kuzokuthi iprogram yakhona iyaenda mbona ngathi kusiyafika next year kuyabe kusokule inkinga enkulu ekuhlale besikhangela ukuthi abe kuthiwa mbe basizwela baye kuma sesiqalisa udla amakhomane so next year okuyabe kungcono but kathi singayamathi singo August mbona ngathi kungaphuma izidumbu ekuhlaleni.
Ushiwa siphathi kwendlala enkulu indlala yakhona ngoba abantu kabavunanga bengavunanga kunjalo abantu ade bephila nzima asikubona even lathi nabakhokheli abantu baphila nzima kwase kufika ke izimpro lo hlelo layo elokuthi incedisa abantu layo ilabangani bayo abayiba abayisponsayo ukuzikwanisa ukusincedisa. Imali ngalesincedisile okuqinileyo sibilo ukuthi kugcine lathi sekukhangeleka abantu bengakhangelani kubi njalo lendlela esahlela ngayo ukukhetha abantu saqale sahlala phansi izimpro ngokwayo kayisikhethelanga ukuthi libone ukuthi kumele kuhole bani kumbe kuhole bani. Sahlala phansi thina sakhangela abantu abaswela kakhulu sabona ukuthi kungcono ukuthi uhole bona yasathola ama training kakhulu. Thola ama training izimpro ibuya labantu abatrainayo basitraine ukuthi sikwanise ukuzincedisa. Hayikhona ukuthi sibe sibambelele komnye umuntu kokuphela kumbe kudona kumbe komunye nje umuntu even ngasodona. Bazama ukusibonisa indlela esingazenza. Leyo nto le mbani ipromote impilo yethu ukuthi abanye abantu even ama project bayakwanisa ukubalawa ama project amancane.
Yes, kwakulama trainings akhona. Kuqale kwaba lama trainings wama ISALs abantu befundiswa bengena kuma groups beqhuba kuhle kakhulu. Aloke khona la khathesi and khona kuyana ukuthi abantu bangene kuma groups bafundiswe iyabaphakamisa abantu yenza abantu babe lolwazi kutshintshe njalo izimpilo zabo ngoba isikhathi esiningi nxa abantu ngathi benikana izimali bebuye futhi imali abayichaya liyana babuye banikana kuyabancedisa kakhulu kuyabavula lasezingqondweni lama workshop imfundiso abayithola lapho ngibona lami engisebenza under development ngibona kungiphathisa kakhulu. Khathesi lithi liyahamba uzimpro wathi August uyacina nxa ngikhangele mina khathesi njengoba sesiku September zizo inyanga critical kakhulu endlaleni because lokhuyana bebekutholile okungamasaka amabili amathathu sekuphelile. Abanye engikuthandileyo bathe kumali ladlanyana liyana bayiphiwa ngozimpro bahamba bayabhadala ama school fees abantwana. Abanye bayagula njalo bakwanisa ukucupha le $10 bahamba baye esibhedlela. Kungiphatha abayisebenzanga ukudla kuphela bayisebenzise lamanye ama problems abalawo emizini yabo. Ngithanda ukuthi ngibonge uzimpro osebenza kanzima lathi ohlale nice to us okhuluma lathi kuhle. Ngibonge njalo iChristian Aid, ngibonge njalo iChurch of Sweden ephathise kakhulu.
The cash transfer project also benefited local business people through increased purchases from beneficiaries once they had accessed their cash.
Tinoona yakanaka zvikuru pabusiness redu rezvinotengeswa neeco cash. Zvakaita kuti ma product edu aimprove zvikatengwa zvakanaka ende zvinhu zvakanaka zvinobatsirawo venharaunda vabereki. Shara yakaitawo shoma tikaona zvinhu zvakanaka zvakanyanyisa kana zvikaramba zvakadaro shara inoita shoma munharaunda yedu. Kana program ikanzi yapera vabereki shara inopindawo isuwe mabusiness ma products edu anenge adzikirawo. Saka tinoti dai zvaramba zvichienderawo mberi kuti zvibatsirewo isuwe mabusiness nevabereki munharaunda pakutorwa kwemari. First time vabereki vaishupika vanga vasingazivi kuti mari iyi kana yapinda ndeyavo. Vaiona sekuti mari ikapinda fume yamangwana inofuma musisina mari. Saka pressure yaitwandirawo nekuda kwemari yatinenge tinayo budget atiteka budgeta yaizokona kukwana pazuva iroro. Saka vabereki kana vakakwanisa kuti vayo mazuva akasiyana vanokwanisa kuprovidwa nemari.
Program le ikhweze hayi business yami njalo ngisebenze kahle lama customers ami bengazange ngithole any problem. Noba nje imali ibihlupha ukutholakala kwemali ama cash out like ngoba imali these days imali iyahlupha. Then business yami ngendlela bengithengisa ngayo hayi increase le sibili business lami. Nami befisa ukuthi business ilokhu program le iyaqhubekela phambili ngoba bona abantu abaningi besebenza ngani bayaphila ngcono ngoba sikhangela ukuthi ngani abantu abaningi azaye bathole lutho ukudla.
At Other stakeholders in the project included the Ministries of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, Local Government and Urban Development, Health and Child Care, Education, Insiza Rural District Council and the Agri-Tax Department.
They have had a number of programs of late. They had programs of capacitating communities in small livestock, but also because of the advent of this particular current drought that we have, they have also come in to support with cash transfers as well. So they have been doing these cash transfers as well to communities that are affected in those wards. The Department of Social Welfare, like this year, it was inundated with feeding the population of Insiza. And so when the NGOs came in, the Department of Social Welfare actually concentrated on other wards, meaning that the numbers of beneficiaries for these particular programs increased, and hence a bigger safety net was created.
Zimpro moved into the area following the declaration of a state of disaster by the president.
The situation when we moved in was really challenging because there was 27% of the population which was in need of food aid. The president had just declared a state of disaster in February, and by March 27% of the population was in need of food aid. This was due to the drought in the previous year, and most people did not harvest anything at all. We worked with Social Welfare Department and the district administrator, and we used a criteria which they use for social welfare cases. Mostly these people are the elderly, the child-headed households, the chronically ill, and other vulnerable members of the community. But we also included able-bodied people who were food insecure, because this time around there were people who were able-bodied but were not able to feed their families. We changed to cash transfers because we needed the community to have choices. We needed them to identify their own gaps at household level and to make choices once they get their money and buy what they require as a family.
Some of the challenges encountered included the use of the cell phone technology, especially for the elderly.
With some few challenges when we're implementing the program, as we have indicated that we targeted some of them as elder people, and this technology of phones and EcoCash was a challenge for them in terms of entering the PIN and so forth, but we tried to educate them after that, but that also created some problem for us. The major challenge was mainly because of the lines that they got from EcoNet were recycled, and when they were registering for EcoCash, it was indicating two owners, hence it was difficult for them to access cash. That's why eventually we ended up giving a few the cash through the envelope system.
Ngayithola sibili. Umthunzi wabo wazandika. Ngivele kade sengivele mbulala indlala, ngathi ngathatha umgodla. Ngathatha konke lathulwila, shuke. Konke. Ngayithola sibili.
Njengoba sithi iprogram yangibona siphela lizasala senze.
Sazike lapho. Siyakufa. Kasizatini. Kasathini. Ngayisiphelile.
Our pulling out at this moment is definitely not the appropriate time because we're yet going to the hungriest month. But for this particular project, we had 3 months funding, and if possible, we might bounce back to come and serve the same community. Otherwise, now we had exhausted the monies which we had mobilized for the community.
I do feel we still have a challenge in terms of food. Remember, we're almost approaching the farming season. The farmers would need to go back into the land, but they have to have food, obviously, to be strong enough to cultivate the land. We also want them also the program, if it could extend up to December, when probably we can say would be realizing a bit of some produce in the land. Probably that's when we would have had our first rains, and a lot of things in the land would have germinated, and probably for those the early crop, like the maize crop, could have matured. So at that particular period, probably we could say the program could end. But we also want these farmers to be capacitated in terms of agricultural inputs, especially those varieties of those crops that do well in this drier region, like the sorghum seed and also the drought-tolerant maize varieties. If they could be capacitated so that they can also begin to work on their pieces of land.
The project also had an aspect of preparing the beneficiaries on how to survive after it had come to an end.
We had also an ISAL component in the project. So some they contributed to ISAL groups for the club so that they can roll on, start to invest, so that even after the end of the program, they've got something to survive on. Some they managed to pay school fees and so forth. Generally, I can say it was put to good use the way we see it as an organization. And also we're saying this training that coupled the eco-cash component, it was more of a sustainable one, because we also trained them on community mobilization, transparency and accountability and reporting systems, where the communities were able to identify the key resources that they have that they can use to mobilize funds in case of disasters like the one that we have as of now, and they identify the stakeholders that they can assist in using their local resources, and also the reporting strategies whenever there are cases of disaster, the channels of how they report these cases up to the district so that and response can be done as soon as possible. Issues of disaster management, also they were taught on disaster management. We are in a disaster such as drought, the one that we are currently having now, so how they can manage it, and also issues of climate change, how they can prepare even for the next season, trying to educate them to use drought-tolerant varieties so that maybe in case we receive this minimum rainfall, they can harvest something.